The Grand Ballroom here at the Westin Hotel in Uptown Charlotte. It is time for us to kick off 2018 ACC Kickoff. We will get the day started with North Carolina at the podium. First up will be Anthony Ratliff-Williams. Anthony will take questions not only from the room but also from the podium here. We'll spend about 15 minutes with our student athletes, and then Coach Fedora will come up and we'll spend the final 15 minutes with him. We have microphones throughout the room. We would ask that as the day progresses, please continue to identify yourself and the agency that you're with. Anthony, we'll start our first question to your right here in the second row.
I can holler. There we go. Bob Holliday, WRL.com, Anthony. You lost 4 starters in the offensive line, which has the impact of protect. Will the quarterback have enough time to get you the ball? Is the question. So, obviously, a point of great interest for you. How's that come along? The rebuild of the line. Are you going to be able to have enough time to get open deep?
Yeah, I think that over this time in the summer, all season, that we've taken the time to make sure that everybody's getting healthy, getting their bodies back together from where they were last year. And that's kind of been the key for us to make sure we get our guys back, make sure they're mentally and physically ready to compete on the highest level possible. And that's what we've been doing since the summer's begun.
Anthony, stay with your attention right here on the first row.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Anthony, just what you could say about your expanded role as far as special teams and then being a receiver out there, just how you see your role evolving and being a big part of the offense this year.
I feel like that lies with the coaching staff and just me knowing what I have to do and know my role as a player and a teammate to my guys in the locker room. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get wins, and if that means me returning the kickoff for a touchdown, catching the kickoff, throwing it doesn't matter. Just catching the touchdown. But yeah, just whatever my team needs from me. So I don't mind doing it.
Anthony, to your left, second row.
Anthony, Richard Walker with the Gaston Gazette. I know you're a former quarterback. Right. There's a lot of question about who your quarterback will be this year. Talk about what Chaz and Nathan bring to the table, and obviously you played with both of them last year. Right.
I feel that both quarterbacks bring their own niche to the game, whereas Nate is a more vocal guy, more of a leader, where Chaz is calm, laid back, cool, and collected in any situation. And I don't really prefer either one. I just let those guys play their game and do what they do. Give me the ball, give anybody the ball that when needed. And I feel like they're just taking this time in the summer to compete and show whichever one's better and who's the better guy. And we're gonna win with either one. So
Anthony, back to your right here on the third row.
Hey, Anthony. Adam Powell, Womack Publishing. I wanted to ask you, as a return specialist, about this new kickoff rule, your thoughts about it and how you think it'll impact this season.
Oh, that's very interesting. I think it's a very interesting rule to implement it. You got to make a lot of smart decisions, I feel like. It doesn't take away from me being aggressive in the kick return game, but you definitely have to be smarter with you being able to fair catch the ball within the 25-yard line and being able to place the ball at the 25-yard line. So I feel like the rule maybe not have been necessary, but it is in there. It is being implemented. So just being smart and taking time.
There's like a debate between safety versus excitement. Do you think it might take away some of the excitement of the game, not having as many kickoffs? Or?
I feel like that depends on the players, the guys that are back there returning those kicks. I definitely, when I get my hands on the ball and have the opportunity to return it, I'm definitely trying to go for 6. So I feel like any return in the country would do the same.
Anthony, here from the podium, how does it feel to be back at home in Charlotte for this event?
Great. Love the city of Charlotte.
A lot of smiles. You are 2 years into an adjustment now, having played quarterback in high school and now obviously wide receiver here. 2 years is a long time. How's that adjustment been for you? Are you getting to a point now where you're comfortable?
Definitely, I'd say I'm getting to a point where I'm comfortable. It was a mental strain coming from the position of quarterbacks and now playing receiver and understanding what it takes to do so, and especially with also being a kick returner and having to take the time to learn from the guys who came before you. But with that being said, the guys who were before me, it wasn't a bad group to learn from at all. So you take those things in stride and you implement those implement those things into your game. So that's what I've been doing.
You're all good. We got to kick off the room somehow, and you're just breaking it all in right now. Let's go, Anthony, to your right, third row, just over my shoulder here.
Anthony, Mark Armstrong with ABC 11. It's not as simple as saying nobody saw you coming last year, but now everybody will see you coming this year. So what have you done to make sure that you're still the weapon you were last season?
Right. All summer, I've just been working on my game in every aspect, catching the ball, getting out of routes, getting out of breaks, and just being a better, not only receiver, but football player. in every aspect of film study and working hard and just making sure that not only me but the guys around me are doing everything so they're not under the radar as well. So,
Anthony, your last question will come to your right, very back row.
Thank you. Chris Trinkle, Daily Tar Heel. Anthony, how important do you think it'll be to have one stable QB in there to help you this year?
I think it'll be very important for the team aspect and being able to have that one quarterback and have that guy that guys can turn to when things aren't going the way they want them to go. And we're currently working on that now, and guys and they're putting in their work to show who's the better quarterback and who's the guy that we need on the team. And we're just taking the time and kind of sitting back and letting them do what they do and just catching the ball, really. So,
Anthony, thank you. We'll have you switch places with Aaron. Aaron Crawford, if you'll step up to the podium. Same routine, microphones throughout the room. Questions for Aaron as he steps up to the podium. We'll go right here, Aaron, to your right, first row.
Aaron, just to speak on, the defensive line in and of itself as a whole, just what you can say you've done to evolve as a player, and then what you can say about the line going into this season.
As a player, every year I really want to focus on my pass rush, improving that, trying to make sure we get to the quarterback on third down. As a D-line as a whole, I feel like we have some of the best depth in the country. We have 8 guys that can rotate through and really get after it with minimal drop-off. So with that being said, I'm excited to see how these guys prepare for the season and look forward to getting after it.
Aaron, still to your right, third row.
Hey, Aaron, Mark with ABC 11 back home. Coach mentioned you by name at the Pigskin preview as somebody to watch for this year. What has your communication been with him as to what his expectations are?
I mean, Coach Fedora expects the best out of me whenever I touch the field. As far as his communicating expectations, we haven't talked much about it, but I know I feel like I can speak for him when he expects me to just go out and dominate and lead the young guys, lead the rest of the D-line, and make sure everybody's on the same page.
Aaron, I'll ask a question from the podium. Who gave you the nickname Bam Bam, and when did that happen?
Coach Trey Scott, my first year. We were going through our first training camp, and I don't know, he said it during film review, and it kind of just stuck for the rest of that year.
You're okay with it?
You get what you get.
Other questions for Bam Bam in the room? Aaron, to our right, second row.
Bam Bam Bob Holliday, WRL.com. You only lost 5 starters from defense, 7 back, yet there was a lot of leadership in the folks that graduated. Who will be the leaders this year?
I think myself, Malik Carney, our 2 safeties, Cole Holcomb, Allen Artis, even Jalen Dalton, even though he missed a few games last year with injury. All these guys coming back, like you said, we only lost 5 guys, and while those guys included MJ Stewart and Donnie Miles, we lost a lot of Andre Smith. The leadership that we lost with them, it was great, but they kind of set the standard for how we need to lead the team from this point forward.
Aaron, last year, North Carolina gave up 31 points on average per ball game. What's the conversation been like during the offseason to get those numbers as low as they possibly can be?
First and foremost, stop the run. That's something we emphasize in practice every day. Definitely cutting down on the critical plays, the critical errors that happen late in the game especially. We've gotten to a point where the explosive plays that we've let up throughout the year have gotten lower and lower, but those critical plays that kind of explode and swing the momentum of the game, those are things that we need to stop going forward.
Just over my shoulder, very back row.
Hey, Aaron. Jeff Gravely, WRL-TV in Raleigh. What have you guys done as a group and maybe as individuals to kind of repair yourselves from going through a 3-9 season?
I mean, I think guys are definitely paying more attention to taking care of their bodies. The coaching staff and the strength training staff has definitely been working with us to try to put us in the best position for us to be healthy going into the season and maintaining that health throughout the season. As far as that goes, we lost the majority of our games in the fourth quarter. We entered the game with however big of a lead, and throughout the course of the game, throughout the course of the fourth quarter, we let it slip away. So focusing on the little things and the critical times, 2-minute situations, things like that. We're just kind of honing in on this.
Aaron, your last question. You are a little bit older, and you talked about some of the guys that have been lost. Given your age and your experience, what are you teaching the younger kids coming through?
Paying attention to detail. We have captain-run practices that we do throughout the week, and we're really trying to focus on the young guys that come in. Take the right steps, have your hands in the right place, have your eyes in the right place. And if they don't get it down, we'll come in on Saturdays and we'll go through them again, go through a whole progression, taking the stance out of your step, taking the step out of your stance, things like that.
Aaron and Anthony, thank you. We'll excuse our student athletes and bring Coach Fedora up to the podium. So we've got about 15 minutes with Coach Fedora. Questions from the room for the head coach. We'll come back to Bob Holliday, coach here to my right, second row.
Coach over here.
I see you. Everybody over here is asking all the questions. They're not giving anybody a chance over here. What's the deal? All right, let's go.
We're going to be voting later this week. Obviously, one of the stats that we look at is returning starters, returning career starts. Those are not great numbers for North Carolina. Of course, you believe as a coach there are many other factors other than returning starts and starters. What are some of the factors that determine whether a season is a good one?
Yeah, I'm looking more at the culture of our team, the chemistry of our football team. We had a lot of young guys get reps last year, so they got experience. Whether they were starters or not, they're back. So I would say probably the majority of our team played, even though they shouldn't have played last year. But so we're going to take that and we're going to build off of it. So I don't think that we're going to have as many people out there on the field this year. They're going to be wide-eyed in that first game like they've never stepped on a college football field. So so whether or not we've got a lot of returning starters, we've got some experience.
Coach, your request has been met. First
Thank you.
row, left side.
All right.
Hi, Lisa Chung with theskyboat.com. With the season approaching, what traits are you looking for in your starting quarterback, and what do they need to win the job?
Well, we're looking for separation. That's the number one thing. Somebody that takes over the team and then the team becomes theirs. They've got to be able to do it not only on the field but off the field. They got to be able to run the plays, run the offense, take command of the offense, have a presence out there that all the guys relate to. They have to be an influencer. They've got to be able to influence the guys around them. They've got to be able to raise the level of the players around them. They do that, then they got to do the same things off the field. And when somebody separates themselves from the others, then we'll make a call.
Coach, to your right, just to my left here.
Coach, the addition of Robert Gillespie, just what you can say about what he's done with with guys like Alvin Kamara and whatnot at Tennessee, just what you can say he brings to the table and he brings to the running back room for you.
Yeah, well, Robert's kind of a no-nonsense kind of guy. He's a lot like I am. He's got a lot of energy. He brings, he's very passionate about coaching the running backs. I mean, he really is. He has a very high expectation level for those guys, and he plans on holding them to it. And he did a great job for us in the spring. It's been a really nice to have him in that room.
Coach, back to your left, second row.
Richard Walker, Gaston Gazette. Last year you had 3 starting quarterbacks. This year you got 2 candidates. Can you talk about, would you prefer to have one emerge, or do you look at a season where you may have another situation where more than one guy starts?
Yeah, I think ideally you'd like to have one guy separate themselves, but if it doesn't happen, then we'll work on it from there. But I think ideally you'd like to have a returning guy that's probably been starting for 3 years in your program coming back, but that's just not the case. It doesn't happen like that every year.
Coach, left side, we're going to go 4 or 5 rows back.
Well, we woke this side up, didn't we?
See, there you have it.
Coach, Brendan Marks from the Charlotte Observer. You heard Anthony talk a little bit about the new kickoff rules and how that's not going to change how aggressive he is in attacking the ball on kickoffs. What do you tell him differently with this new rule? Do you tell him anything differently? And what are you expecting from him in that regard this season?
Well, there's so much, that goes into it. I mean, it's not just get back there and run. I mean, when you catch the ball, I mean, he's got to know where his alignment is, when the ball's in the air, how much he's drifted. He's got to be aware of all those things because there are points on the field where we've told him he can bring it out, points on the field where he can't. He's got to be right on that. He's got to know what the wind's doing. He's got to know what the kicker's doing, what the approach is. He's got to be able to catch the ball moving forward and not be stagnant when he catches it so that he can be running a flying 40 when he hits it. And then we give him one cut, and he's got to go full speed. So first of all, just being able to know that 11 guys are running down the field at you full speed, and you're going to run at them full speed, that takes something. It takes a little bit of grit right there. I don't want to take away Anthony's aggressiveness. If I didn't have a guy like Anthony, we would probably be fair catching a lot, and I would imagine there will be a lot of teams that do that. I think that the new rule, there's going to be more squib kicks, more bouncing kicks. I think there will be a wider variety of type of kicks that you see in college football now. The jury's out still a little bit on how we're going to approach it, but it is nice to know that we've got a guy that when he does get it in his hands, he can go the distance.
Coach, still on that side, 7th row towards the aisle.
Marilyn Payne, WRAL in Raleigh. Larry, in more seasons than not, it seems you've had to work through who will be your starting quarterback. In what ways has your evaluation process developed as a coach with the number of times you've done this?
Yeah, Marilyn, I'd say, since I became a coordinator back in about 98 or 99 and started coaching quarterbacks, I've pretty much done it the same way all the way through. And you can either look at it, there's 2 ways to look at it. You can look at it, you haven't announced a quarterback, so that's a bad thing, or you can look at it as, hey, you got some good competition there, and you want those guys to compete all the way through, and it's a good thing. And so we always try to turn it into a positive. And just because one guy hasn't separated himself from the process right now doesn't mean that we're not going to be good at that position. I've been doing it for a long time. I've used this same strategy all the way through since I've been doing it. It's been good to me, and I will continue to do it until there's a reason not to.
Coach, to your right, back to Bob Holliday.
The last 4 or 5 seasons, you've had the luxury of having most of your offensive line returning. That's not the case this year, only 1 starter back. What's the overhaul, the rebuilding, the makeover of your offensive line coming like?
Yeah, and you would love to have all those guys back, but it's just not the way it is this year. But I will say every one of those guys, except possibly 1 that's going to play this year, they've all played. They've all got experience. They weren't necessarily the starter last year, but they all played. And so I feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that these guys have been out there. They've been in the heat of the battle, so they're not going to be shocked. They know what it takes. Because we lost a couple guys to injuries last year, and so some other guys were forced into action, and they got a lot of playing time. So we may not have the starters, but we do have some experience there. And that position, those 5 guys, until they gel together as a unit, you're not going to be as effective. The sooner they gel, the more effective you're going to be.
Coach, left side, about the 5th row in the red shirt.
Coach, John Magdalene from Reddit TFB. Aaron mentioned starting strong and falling apart late in games. What have y'all done to kind of mitigate the strong start followed by a kind of rough 3rd quarter?
Yeah, so, I think those 9 games we were ahead in the second half, and I think in 7 of them we were ahead in the 4th quarter, and we ran out. We ran out of personnel. We ran out of energy because of that, all those things. And so it's more about a mindset, that when you get into those situations in the game, you got to finish. The drills don't change. You're finishing everything that you do in the off season. It's a point of emphasis when you're talking about it to your team, but it's just a mindset, that when you get into that situation, you got to put your foot on somebody's neck and you got to stomp down. You got to finish them off.
Coach, to your right, 3rd row.
Hey, Coach, Adam Powell from Winmack Publishing. Just curious if there's been any notable position changes during the offseason?
Oh, man. Let me think now. I'm just, you kind of caught me here. I don't, there's not anybody that comes to mind. I apologize, but I don't have that. I was just
curious if
anybody moved
since the spring.
If there is, I'm not hiding it from you. I can't think of it.
Fair enough.
Coach, to your left, 2nd row towards the edge.
Joe Hughes, Gaston Gazette. How do the 2 primary players in the quarterback competition kind of compare to previous quarterbacks that have experienced success during your tenure at UNC?
Well, that's good. So if I'm trying to compare those guys, You know, I have a quarterback at Southern Miss, Austin Davis, who's playing for Seattle now, and he's going into his 7th year. I think Nathan is very comparable to him. His demeanor, his leadership ability, the way he throws the ball, all those things. I had a guy at Oklahoma State by the name of Zach Robinson who Chaz is a lot like, you know. And as Chaz grows and matures in the offense, he's going to be a lot like him. And you know, Zach also went on and played in the league and had a lot of success.
Let's keep it to the left, go back to the first row.
Coach, the first game of the season, you have to travel across the country.
5.5 hours.
To play against California. How do you prepare your team?
Well, I mean, it's another game. I mean, it's our first game. I mean, it's the only game we have on our schedule right now. It's the most important thing we do. The logistics of it is not something, you know, we'll talk about some of the things that we do going into that game as far as travel-wise. And you know, most of our guys will have traveled. But 5.5 hours that way, 5.5 hours going back. You know, from my understanding and all the research I've done, going to the West Coast is not as tough on you as coming east. You know, so I'm really a little bit more concerned about the travel part of it and what it's going to do to their bodies the next week than I am the week we go out.
Stay on your left, second row.
Coach Fedora, obviously the changes in the kickoff rules is kind of a part of I guess the concussion research. How has football changed for you to teach it in drills you do and protocol you use as it relates to those injuries since you've been in coaching?
Yeah, well, when I started playing the game, I mean, it was all about the head. You were going to stick your head into everything, you know. And as we've learned and we understand the dangers of what's going on in the game of football, you know, you slowly have taken the head out of the game. And so you all the drills that you teach, all the tackling, all the things you do it with the head out of the game to keep the head away from the impacts. You know, also back when I played, you were 3 practices a day during fall camp. I mean, so all of those changed. You know, you had got 1 cup of water at practice. I mean, so you know, we've learned and evolved so much about hydration, and you don't need to take salt tablets and all those different things that you did in the past. I'm going to tell you, the game right now, the game is safer than it's ever been in the history of the game. It is. I mean, it really is. Are there still injuries? Yeah. It's a violent sport. I mean, you've got big, fast, strong guys running into each other. Something's going to give. I mean, but there are risks involved in the game, and everybody that plays the game understands those risks. It's not like they're going into it not knowing that something could happen, you know, and so they personally have to weigh those risks versus the rewards, you know. But I believe there's no doubt in my mind the changes that we're making year to year for the health and safety of our players, the game is safer than it's ever been in the history of the game.
Bob Holliday, back to your right.
One of the places where a player can get hurt is when a quarterback runs the ball, and yet 8 of the 9 top rushing teams in the ACC have quarterbacks who run the ball really well. Your quarterbacks for the years have run the ball well. What are your rules, thoughts about when the quarterback should run and when not?
Yeah, I think years ago, you know, when everybody was in the pro-style offense, you know, quarterbacks got hurt. I mean, they got hurt because they got sacked. They weren't used to getting hit, all these things. And now as you've recruited more, I mean, I'm not going to say everybody, but us, we recruit more of a dual threat athlete, a guy that can run the football. Well, that means that guy's run the football in high school, you know, and he's taken hits. He's delivered blows. You know, he's not afraid of the contact. Does that mean he won't get hurt? No. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. It's part of the game. But, you know, recruiting and I would say you've got a lot of better athletes out there than there were 10 years ago, 20 years ago that are playing the position. So I think for us, it's take advantage of what that guy can do. If that guy can run, you know, then take advantage of it. If he can throw, take advantage of throwing. If he can do both, take advantage of both. You know, now you got 12 on 11.
Coach, to your right, about 5th row back towards the edge.
Hey, Coach. Chris Audi, Fox 46 Charlotte. With Coach Brewer departing for Philadelphia and a relatively younger receiving core, what's your expectation this year for your receivers?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I was, you know, Gunnar Brewer leaving. I mean, he was part of my family. I mean, we'd been together for a long, long time. We were together at Oklahoma State before we were together here. And so, you know, hated losing him, but at the same time was as excited for the opportunity for him. It was a dream of his, and it kind of came up out of the blue, and so I was excited for him. Hate losing him, but I'm happy for him. I was very fortunate to be able to bring Luke Pascal in. Luke had GA'd under Gunner in our offense, and so it was a easy transition for him. He was able to come in, talk the same kind of language. He knew the offense, so the transition for the players was really smooth. Now, Luke's teaching methods are not the same as Gunner's, so there are changes. He's a little bit different, but the guys have adjusted well, and I think that room, getting the guys back healthy that we had, and plus the freshmen that we've added to this group, I think this group has a chance to be really special.
Back to Dan Toro right here.
Coach, to go to that backfield, you spoke about having a dual threat quarterback, but just what you can say about the evolution of your backfield from last season to this season. I know you were looking for some guys to kind of show themselves out last year. What are you seeing going into the fall now?
Well, Michael Carter came in as a true freshman and really did some great things for us in that role at running back. Jordan Brown did some really good things. So they split the time back there. I anticipate, that we brought in a young man by the name of Anthony Williams that I think is definitely going to help our football team. So, they're at running back. I think we're going to be really solid. Whether we're going to be a one-back running back or running back by committee, that's still to be seen. Whoever's got the hot hand is going to be the guy that's playing. They know it's about production. That's the way it is on our football team. Same thing at quarterback, same thing at wide receiver, same thing at any position.
Your last question, Coach, back to your left, 5th or 6th row in that red shirt.
Hey, Coach. John McElhaney from Reddit again. You mentioned traveling across the country to go to Cal this year. What are your thoughts on home and home versus neutral site openers in general?
I like home and home series. They're hard to find. Probably in scheduling is one of the toughest things that our administration has to do. To be able to find the people that are willing to do it. But I do like the neutral site games also. I think it brings a lot of excitement because a lot of times, it's maybe regional rivals or another well-known team. So I think that's good for your fans also. So, I think as long as people want to watch you play, it doesn't matter who you play. I think it's probably a good thing.
North Carolina, good luck this year.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Folks, Georgia Tech is due in the room at 12:30.